Hi guys, my name is Minerva and today's lesson is the passive voice. Let's begin. Active voice versus passive voice. What's the difference? When you use the active voice, you emphasize that the subject performs the action. For example, Oprah wrote this book. When you use the passive voice, the subject receives the action instead of performing it. For example, this book was written by Oprah. Now, what is the use? Active and passive voice are two different ways of constructing sentences. In general, active voice is used to focus attention on the subject of the sentence, while passive voice puts more emphasis on the object. When we use the passive voice, the first use is like the definition, when we want to emphasize the action rather than on the subject who does it. For example, more and more cell phones are sold every day. The second use is when the subject performing the action is obvious, unknown, or we don't want to mention it. For example, the new hotel will be opened next year. And the third use is when we want to avoid a sentence whose subject is a pronoun. For example, somebody, nobody, she, they, etc. For example, this room was cleaned yesterday. How can you form the passive voice? The passive voice is not a tense in English. Each tense has its own passive voice, which is created by using the form be plus past participle. In affirmative, we have the subject, the verb be, and the past participle. For example, the car was repaired. In negative, we have subject plus verb be plus not plus past participle. For example, the car wasn't repaired. And in interrogative, we have the WH word plus the verb be plus subject plus the past participle. For example, when was the car repaired? In this chart, you can see the most common tenses. As you can see, only the form of the verb be changes to make the tense, while the past participle stays the same. Let's begin with examples. In simple present, wine is made from grapes. In present continuous, wine is being made from grapes. In past simple, wine was made from grapes. In past continuous, wine was being made from grapes. In future with will, wine will be made from grapes. In future with be going to, wine is going to be made from grapes. In present perfect, wine has been made from grapes. In past perfect, wine had been made from grapes. In future perfect, wine will have been made from grapes. And with modals, wine can be made from grapes. Now, let's continue with the agent. The agent is the person or thing who carries out the action. In most passive sentences, the agent is not mentioned. We use the preposition by to introduce the doer or the agent of the action. And we use this structure when the agent is important. For example, that book was written by Oscar Wilde. Now, how can we change from active to passive? Changing a sentence from active to passive does not change the meaning of the statement, but it does switch the emphasis from the subject, who is the doer, to the direct object who is the action receiver. Let's see the steps. First, identify the tense of the sentence as it's necessary to keep the correct one. Second, identify the subject, the verb, and the direct object. And finally, begin the sentence with the direct object and ends with the subject, that is the agent. Let's see some examples. Peter reads a book. First, we have to identify the tense, simple present. Second, we have to identify the subject, the verb, and the object. Why? Because we have to begin the sentence with the direct object and ends with the subject, that is the agent. Let's see another example. Peter is reading a book. First, identify the tense, present continuous. Second, identify the subject, the verb, and the object, because we have to begin the passive with the object and ends the sentence with the subject, that is the agent. Let's continue with something different now. How can we change an object pronoun in the active to a subject pronoun in the passive? If the direct object of a transitive verb is an object pronoun, you have to change it to a subject pronoun to use it as the subject of a passive sentence. For example, in the active voice we have, they told me about the crime. We have the object pronoun me in the active voice, but we have to change it as a subject pronoun to the passive. And then we have, I was told about the crime. Let's see another example. In the active voice, we have Joseph asked her to sing. The object pronoun her, we have to change it as a subject pronoun to the passive. Then we have, she was asked to sing by Joseph. Now, let's practice. John drives the red car. What is the sentence in passive voice? The red car is driven by John. Next, see another. Mary has bought many candies. What is the passive? Many candies have been bought by Mary. Let's see another. Someone turned off the lights. The passive is the lights were turned off. And the last one, inactive, Michael is waiting for them. What is the passive? They are being waited by Michael. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share. See you in our next lesson.